Shabbat Shalom. So it's interesting to see how much people pay attention to news stories that circulate around during the week. So stop me if you've heard about the story where this beautiful animal, endangered species, probably less than 10,000 of them in the world, was brutally killed this last week. Well, recently. Yes. You know about the hyena? The hyena. No. Oh, you think I'm talking about the lion? Right. And no. So back up a second. In Israel, this last week, a striped hyena, which is native to Asia, and it's endangered. There are only about 10,000 or so of them left. And if you've never seen a hyena, they're not at all what Disney makes them look like in Lion King. They are very noble creatures, not just scavengers. And this beautiful animal is walking along the side of a road in Israel, and it's in the West Bank, and a car pulls up alongside of it and begins tormenting it, begins driving it into the barrier, and then another car joins them. They box the animal in, grab some large rocks, and begin to pelt it with stones, and then finally pick up a big one and drop it right on the helpless creature. There is a YouTube video if you have a strong stomach. You didn't hear about that one, did you? No. We all heard about the lion, right? Why? Why did you all hear about it? Everybody immediately... What's that? Well, let's try the lion first. Then we'll get to why we didn't hear about this. Why did we all hear about the lion? Why has the Western world erupted with outrage about this lion? All right, so first and foremost, lions are cute, right? They're beautiful. They're majestic. They are an emblem of strength and of power. They have a mythology that goes with them, that we see them as, well, lions, not hyenas. Big difference. But lions are shot all the time in Africa. Why did this lion get so much outrage? He was special? He had a name, right? He was a special lion. He wasn't just a lion. He was Cecil the lion, right? Or Cecil, or however you pronounce it if you're in Zimbabwe, right? He had a name. It wasn't just some random animal, even of a noble type. It was this one. This one was killed. So, that means that what we should do is name every lion in Africa, and then we'll be safe from poachers. But why would we come up? Let's be honest, animals with names get killed all the time too. Why did the world erupt with anger over this killing? An American that did it. A wealthy American that did it. Because the villain was right in the story. Right? To make a story go viral, you need two parts. You need a victim that people will have compassion on, and you need a villain that people will be happy to hate. And in this particular case, you got both. Right? The victims, in terms of the animals that are slaughtered around the world for sport and for entertainment, and often in much more torturous ways than what happened with the lion. Some people, yes, can muster the compassion and concern to be always thinking about it. Most people, it's a blip on the radar and then it goes. But if you've got a good villain to hold your attention, somebody that maybe you're already a bit resentful of, somebody maybe you're already a bit suspicious of their morality because you think that they're one of them, and they're the perpetrator, they're the ones who did it, now the story has legs. Now you can get a good mob going. Now you can drive a person out of their business. Now you can drive all of that person's employees out of having a job. Now you can make death threats. Right? Now you can say, I'm going to hunt you down and kill you like the lion. I'm going to hang you up and torture you. Because this is what has been happening this last week. Right? It's not about the lion. It's about the villain. If it had been a different person under different circumstances killing exactly the same animal, you would seen the same reaction. You would not have seen the same reaction because we saw exactly as I just began with a story of an animal equally as endangered as the lion, equally as special, much more brutally tormented and killed with no side effect of donations to the conservation in the area. And we do have to be honest, big game hunting is a big part of why the lion population is doing well, as ironic as that may seem and counterintuitive. But here's a hyena with YouTube evidence of the greatest malice and cruelty that you can show to an animal, and yet no one cares. Partly because hyenas are not that sympathetic, but also Palestinians. They don't make headlines.
The same way that this poor little baby got into the newspaper because he was massacred, but if a Jewish child happens to be a Jewish child, would it be fine in the paper? Maybe buried someplace or not at all.
We're going to come back to that in just a second. But primarily because most people are uncomfortable making the Palestinians into the villains that are going to receive the hate and anger and outrage that was leveled against somebody who killed the lion. Even though the way they killed that hyena was much, much worse than the way the lion was killed, and even though in terms of endangeredness, hyenas receive a lot less protection and are equally as endangered. Okay, so let's come back to what happened later this week, which did not receive anything like the attention of the world as the lion did. So on Thursday, in Jerusalem, there was a parade in support of gay rights and the right of people to be gay in the land of Israel. And what happened? What's that? Don't tell me who did it. What happened? Are we more interested in who did it than what happened? 6 people were stabbed. 4 of them still in the hospital. Some of them still in very critical and serious condition. Now, who stabbed them? Now we can get to that. An Orthodox man who 10 years ago did exactly the same thing at the parade. He served a 10-year prison sentence from which he was released 3 weeks ago, promptly went onto the radio and told people he was going to do it again, was known to have these plans, and walked past the police who had been warned that somebody like this, not necessarily him, but somebody like this might try and do it again, since it had happened before. That's what you tell your security detail about known types of threats. Walked right past them, not in disguise, not pretending to be one of the parade goers. Walked right past them, peyot, kippah, everything visible, stood in the middle, pulled out a knife, and began stabbing. But are we all posting our outrage about this? Or do we post more outrage about the lion? More about the lion. Well, because, let me give you the benefit of the doubt, and everybody here has the same sympathy for the victims of the stabbing. But do we have the same capacity of rage against the perpetrator? Or do we excuse it and say, the person's mentally ill? Yeah, after all, but the mental illness has taken a shade because of the culture in which it was raised. Right? We could have accused the people who dropped rocks on a hyena as being mentally ill, or those who were throwing stones at our worshippers of Tisha B'Av last Sunday as being mentally ill. But we don't. We don't excuse when the Palestinians attack us as being mentally ill. Why would we excuse one of our own for attacking us as being mentally ill? Trust me, if this man had been a Palestinian, he first of all would have been shot the moment he pulled out a knife. And second of all, we would have all screamed outrage and pointed at the sickness of a society that would create a person that would walk into a parade of innocent people who simply wanted to be left alone and began to stab them. And what about that firebombing? Or maybe we haven't heard as much about that. The firebombing. Right? The Palestinian child who was murdered by Jews, right, who went into a village and did not attack armed people, did not attack some military installation, but spray-painted graffiti proclaiming their belief that their Messiah had given them authority to do this, and that this was somehow revenge for something. Not that the people in the house had done anything worthy of revenge, but simply they were a convenient target, and then began to set fire to 4 homes. And an infant died, and the other 3 are still in a hospital. In an Israeli hospital. And yes, we can pat ourselves on the back for that, and we can pat ourselves on the back that the chief rabbi and that the president of Israel and the prime minister of Israel have all condemned the attack, and Netanyahu has gone to visit the family in the hospital as well. We can say Yashar Koach for that, but are we condemning those who did it strongly enough? Or do we say, well, you know, things are different in the West Bank. You know, there's a lot of tension, and people do things that they think might help, but we know they're not right, but you know, they're under a lot of pressure there. They have to defend themselves. It's easier to make excuses for your own than for others. Aren't enough people condemning us? Exactly. We have to present a united front against the world. The whole world, you know, let's be honest, is not exactly a big fan of Israel or the Jews right at the moment. So why should we go to great lengths pointing out when some of our own commit heinous acts? We should, or we shouldn't. But you said we're conflicted. It would be the right thing to do? We did establish a standard. It's called Torah. And that standard is very, very clear. That you do not stab people who are walking through the street, and you do not firebomb family homes. Absolutely. Absolutely. How many people were irate during World War II when the Catholic Church did nothing to condemn Nazism? Or earlier when the Russian Orthodox Church did nothing to condemn the pogroms of the Tsar against the Jews? Or when the imams continue, by and large, not to speak out as much as we would like them to against radical Islam unless it's encroaching on their territory. Right? We're constantly saying more work, there should be more condemnation, there should be more condemnation. Why was the world silent? Why was the world silent? We cannot be silent. We have to show as much compassion and as much outrage for the murder of a Palestinian child by Jewish terrorists as we do for a lion killed in Africa. Maybe even a little more. You think we can do that? Maybe? So just one last question that I want you to answer only quietly to yourself. When you go home tonight and you get ready to post things online, are you going to post first your outrage of the stabbing and the fire? Or are you going to look up the video of